Hey, everybody out there that normally joins us for our Moral Mondays, coming at you with the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for a moral revival. Today, you see my picture. As they said, be like that sometime. But we're here. You can see Reverend Liz, our national co-chair, and you're going to see other folk that are going to be coming on in a moment. I'm Reverend Dr. William J. Barber. Some people call me Pastor. Some people call me Bishop. Some people call me Big B. Whatever it is, just don't forget to call me when it's time for dinner. I mean, that's a little joke. You know how that goes. But in this time, we still got to have an ability to laugh and sing, even as we holler and scream at the injustice. But more so than hollering and scream, we got to get this vote out. And today is about Jen Now of the Poor People's Campaign. I'm so thankful to Elliot and to Anna and to Reverend Williams and all of those who are helping to pull that together. Let me tell you real quick what Jen Now is. It is young folks 16 to 25, not who are a side organization to the Poor People's Campaign, but right in the center of things. We don't create, groups where, the young folk get over here and do one thing and the older people over here and the black folk over here and the gay people over here and the white people. No. That's not how we do it in the PPC. We do fusion coalition where everybody is at the table. We do it and bringing people together. And, really in the movement, when you think about it, sometimes we read these figures like Frederick Douglass or Dorothy Day or Mother Jones. These are some people you all may or may not know about, or people you've heard about, Medgar Evers or Rosa Parks. Sometimes we falsely imagine that these folk were like old, like they were whatever. Actually, they were in their 20s. They were in their 20s. Some of the greatest movement in '64, it was young people who led the fight for the Civil Rights Act of '64. And they were young. Many of them that fought for the Voting Rights Act, they weren't even allowed to vote. They knew that 18-year-olds couldn't vote, but they fought that others could get the right to vote. And then in the 1970s, they got an amendment passed that allowed 18-year-olds to vote. A little bit of history. The point is, we're glad to have you here today for this Gen Now. We also got some other folk coming on, some young folk. Mark Ruffalo just won a Grammy, and I don't know if he's going to turn into the Hulk, but he's surely going to be up here today and talk about how all of us need to be doing what we have to do to turn out this folk to stop this madness that's going on in this country. And so much of it, Jen, now you need to understand, I'm almost 60 years old, but for a lot of this stuff is an attempt to impact your lives for the next 40 years. And you have the power to stop it, Now, I'm going to stop right here because there's a sister that knows how to drop it. I mean, when you talk about spoken word, this girl is bad. I mean, bad. Trina Thoughts. She did something on this past Sunday. This is probably going to be some of my last word. I told her I wanted her to speak for me today. She said, look, play the piece that I did on Sunday at the Piece for the Arts that we did, the more mobilizing, organized, registering, educating people for the arts. So I'm going to let Katrina Thoughts, that's her name, Katrina Thoughts, check her out on the web. Katrina Thoughts, she's a bad sister, been bad a long time, been doing spoken word since she was a young person. And so I want to hear her, and then we're going to turn it over to Elliot and Liz and Rob and all of them and just roll with this the rest of the day. Look, glad to have you, Jen. Now, in the Bible, it says, that the old men are for counseling, young folk are for war. Well, we're in a war. We're in a battle for the soul of this nation. You do not have a place in the second room. You have a place right at the center of the battle. It's got to be done. We cannot do what needs to be done without you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hit Katrina Thoughts.
Hello. Is anybody home? This is a national call for moral revival. We are campaigning poor people's survival. We are baptizing them in the holiest of waters. We are putting our laws in order of the land. United we stand, or divided we'll fall. The evils of systematic racism affects us all, especially those in poverty. And poverty tastes all too familiar to me. It tastes like stomach pains and hunger cramps because food stamps only come once a month, and once upon a time we got a stimulus check, but the last time I checked, each month we were burying our babies because the war of the economy don't want to save them. This nightmare, it's on my street as I hear the screams of a mother's defeat mixed with stray bullets, tears, and drive-bys, bloodshed, sirens, gun blasts, and the cries of our at-risk youth. Funeral homes are more than happy to assist you, and gentrification is pallbearers that see our value, waiting to raise the property value because they don't mind burying our children along with our culture. These vultures fly above high rises on the arise as they build landscapes on top of sidewalk graves for those that couldn't escape. Memorials are replaced with wealthy new neighbors, neighboring the ecological devastation that affects our nation. And it is distorted morality that is the new reality. And it seems like we're on a reality show, but the power, it's in our vote. This is the will of misfortune. Not voting put our lives in jeopardy. The price we paid made it right. Who wants to be a millionaire if you're not providing adequate health care? Don't press your luck by passing the buck, because fear is not a factor. Because whose line is this? Our country is now ran by an apprentice, and this is as real as it gets. Too much is on the line, because when the family feud, we lose every time. So go out there and vote, no matter how you feel. Don't let them take your power. Deal or no deal.
You hear that sister drop it? She said, don't let them take your power. Deal or no deal. No compromise, no taking my power. Listen, I just got word that Mark Ruffalo had to cancel because of some things going on. There's so much going on, this crazy vote about the Supreme Court, but he sends his love. Other people sends his love. Jason Collins wanted to be on with us today, but he had some things that, just so many things that are going on. But you're here, that's the main thing, and we always feature that. In this country right now, and Liz is gonna lay it out for you, I just wanna say two things. Over half of children are living in poverty. Over half of children are living in poverty, and it does not have to be. That's why you must be engaged. We were in a conversation one time, and we were talking about rate. We said we need to raise the living wage to $15 an hour, minimum wage to $15 an hour. Politicians said to us, basically, young folk don't need that kind of money. Most of them don't need that level of them. You know what I'm saying? This is how they think. This is how extremists think. And they will continue to think like that until all of us make our power known at the ballot box. We also, in our movement, recognize you don't elect perfect candidates. What you do is you find the candidate that's closest to what you're trying to do. You put them in office, vote against the candidate that's literally trying to hurt you. And then once you get the people in office, then you push them hard. That's why our campaign is, we are calling people to do more. Mobilize, organize, register, educate people for the movement who vote. And we normally meet about Mitch McConnell, that Senate leader. Let me tell you, he's been there a long time, too long. But the things that he has said, we actually have a tape where he says, I am the Grim Reaper. I don't know if we're going to play that today, but it'd be good to show people that. I am the Grim Reaper. And basically what he's saying, all the bills that are about expanding voting rights, raising living wage, healthcare, he says, I'm going to put it in my desk and close it, and I'm not going to allow it to even come to the floor. Well, guess what? The things he's not allowing to come to the floor is having devastating impact on people from 16 to 25 years of age. I'm telling you, you all, your power must be felt. And as Trina just said, deal or no deal, because when the family feuds, we all lose. We are the deal. There's no deal they can cut that should keep us from exercising every bit of power we have. I'm out for this. Turn it over to Liz, turn it over to Elliot, turn it over to Anna. Do what y'all need to do. God bless you and take care.
Well, thanks so much, Reverend Barber, and thanks indeed everybody for joining us today for this Moral Monday. You can see on the screen that we have a number to call, a bit.ly link to follow. We are trying to flood Mitch McConnell's phone lines. We're trying to shut them down because he must pass a just stimulus bill. Still, there is time. People are in need. People are in danger. People are in suffering. And so please make sure that you follow that link and you voice your concerns as we get ourselves ready to vote in this election. I want to bring Elliot and Anna on. I want Elliot to explain a little bit about this Moral Monday, and Anna to say a little bit more about Gen Now and why we're doing this the way we're doing it, and why it's so important for us to be rising up together and making our voices heard. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Elliot. Welcome. We're so glad that folk are here with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Reverend Liz. And good to be on with everyone. You know, I think it's safe to say, as young folks, millennials, younger, those that are Gen Z, and those that are younger, that, you know, we're upset, you know, we're fed up. And I think it's the systems that that we're living in for so many years, you know, whether that's the endless wars, the endless military aggressions that we've been living throughout all our years, the military budget that is just expanded and bloated, whether that's the economic depression, economic recessions that we've lived through all throughout our young lives, the climate change crisis that is just ravaging our communities all over the nation, whether you're in the West, whether you're in the Gulf Coast, just ravaging our communities. And then what we're seeing today in a pandemic, folks are struggling, can't pay their rent, living in the streets. And we're seeing our elected officials, we're seeing Mitch McConnell in particular, not adhering to the people, not passing a COVID relief bill, and ramming through with the Supreme Court judge and also many other federal judges on the bench while people are dying, people are hungry, people are starving, people are crying. And so, as I said, we're fed up and we're angry. And so that's why we're organizing, we're mobilizing, we're registering, we're educating, and we're bringing in people for a movement that votes. And that's what Gen Now is. As Reverend Barber said, it's not a silo thing. It's not Gen Now over there or Gen Now over yonder. It's here within the movement, within the orbit of the Poor People's Campaign. And as young leaders, you will hear them today talk about why they are part of the movement, why they're voting, and why they're organizing, and why we're going to change this thing around, and why we're going to build for a better future for tomorrow.
And you know what, Elliot? When you just said something, I wanted to drop this in what you just mentioned. That's why these bots and these folk are using all this stuff to go after your generation to get people not to vote, because they know the power, right? They wouldn't be doing it. And one of the things we want to drop right now is also when it comes to voting, because that's the thing that targeting Gen Now. But the deal is the current occupant of the White House got there by 80,000 votes. I want folks to get that. 100 million people didn't vote last time. 34 million poor and low wealth people didn't vote. The number of young people who did not vote, and I get it, y'all. I've been doing this ever since I was 15 years old, that there are times that you said, dog, why can't somebody just do a whole agenda? And I get that. But the other piece of it that we must own is we don't know what we could have if 75% of Americans vote. We don't know, Elliot, what kind of thing we would have in elected people and policy if 75% of young folk voted. Let's try to figure that out. Let's try that one time. That's what we need to do. We need to see what it would look like if all of us engaged. And I want to encourage that, all of these folk that we mad at, the DA in the Attorney General in Kentucky that didn't do right by Breonna, if the massive vote of 75% turns out, he's not there. McConnell's not there. Lindsey Graham's not there. You could go down the line. Trump's not there. Now, I'm not saying that. And on the other hand, if we do that and let's say you vote for Democrat because we're nonpartisan on this call, they would know. They would know they didn't get there without your vote. They would know that they have to respond. We have to make sure that when the totals are given, that nobody can say any group was not there in the mix. That's the key. That's the key.
That's right. That's right. No, you're right. And, I think, as you said before, Bishop, as young folks, we have power, and we just got to utilize it. We got to get out to vote, and we got to mobilize and organize. And so that's what we're doing now. And that's what we will continue to do, pushing after the elections, for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why we have Gen Now, right? Like, what's important about Gen Now and this group is that we have brought together young leaders from across the nation to do more in their communities. These are young folk who are impacted by the systemic injustices today, who want to empower not only themselves, but others within their network to build a new electorate for low-income people of all races, religions, sexualities, and geographies to vote and organize around a moral agenda to transform this nation. So that's why this group is so important, and we're so excited that everybody's getting a chance to hear their stories.
Well, thank you all so much. We're so glad to be here. I think we want to turn it over to the first young person that's going to be here with us today, Celeste Coffin. They're from Indiana. And what I want to ask you is, what do we mean? What do we mean when we say we must do more? If you could take that from us.
Thank you so much, Reverend Liz. I appreciate it. I'm coming to you from Bloomington, Indiana. I'm a student at Indiana University. And when Hoosiers talk about doing more, what we mean is that we're stepping up to the call put out by the Poor People's Campaign to mobilize, organize, register, and educate people in our communities in hopes of them joining the movement that votes in accordance with our community principles. These fundamental principles do guide us in all of our work, but being nonpartisan does not mean we are unsure of who is best representing the 140 million poor people in America. While we are nonpartisan, our lives and our campaign work remain deeply political, and the way we express that in the Poor People's Campaign is by mobilizing folks, or organizing to create power, registering for voting, and educating everyone on the rampant militarism, destructive environmentalism, and war economy that's affecting all of us each and every day.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much, Celeste. We really are glad that you're here with us, that Indiana is in the house, the Hoosiers are here, and that folks are raising voices to say, we can mobilize, we can organize, we can register, we can educate people, we can build this movement, and we are going to vote loud and strong on and before November 3rd. When we're talking about this question of voting, there's a lot of talk going on right now about the racist voter suppression that's impacting especially students and young people, the closing of polling places, the making it hard to find a place to submit your ballot, the gerrymandering, the kind of virtual poll tax, all of these kinds of issues. And so what we want to do now is have a video from a student at A&T down in North Carolina, talking about the impact of this voter suppression and why young people and all folk across this country, across this campaign are resisting that, protecting our vote in this election, and for sure showing up to vote in this election. I want to, as we turn to that video, I want to remind folks there is still time to call Mitch McConnell. While you're tuning in, please make sure you are flooding the phone lines, telling Mitch McConnell that it is in his power, it is in his hands, it is in the money that this nation has, that the government has, to pass a just relief bill, and to protect our vote, to protect our democracy, to protect the lives of people. But let's watch this video now that's about young people rising up and making our voices heard.
My name is Braxton Brewington, and I am a senior at North Carolina A&T State University. I don't see a difference between gerrymandering and the 3/5 compromise. I don't see the difference between racist photo ID laws and a poll tax. Ever since Black people and women have earned the right to vote in this country, we've seen the suppression of democracy sweep across this nation and unfortunately penetrate the state of North Carolina. In fact, voter registration here in the United States originated as a method of disenfranchisement, as a way to subjugate poor people and immigrants and young people and people of color and women. Fast forward to 2018, where North Carolina serves, unfortunately, as the national poster child for racial and partisan gerrymandering. My own campus, North Carolina A&T, has become a prominent victim of voter disenfranchisement. The largest public HBCU in the nation, now enrolling over 12,000 students, was divided into 2 different congressional districts right here in Greensboro. And they did this to us intentionally because they know the power of our vote.
Awesome. Well, even though that was an example in Greensboro, North Carolina, we know that voter suppression is happening all around the nation, especially in college campuses and universities. I remember back when I was attending Radford University down in Southwest Virginia, it was the same concept where gerrymandering split those that are on campus and that were off campus. And we know that, again, extremists are doing all that they can to hinder folks that are students and those that are young in this nation. And so we have to rise up and we have to challenge that. I'm going to move ahead to our next testifier. Her name is Julia Kennedy, and she is organizing with the Deaf PPC, and she is a student intern at the Cairo Center. And with that being said, I will turn it over to Julia.
Hello, everybody. My name is Julia Kennedy. I am currently a 3rd-year student at Hampton University, and I'm also a visiting student at Gallaudet University. Hampton University is an HBCU, and Gallaudet University is primarily for deaf and hard of hearing students. I'm from Virginia, and I'm a proud Black woman and happen to be deaf and have cerebral palsy. I'm also proud to be an intern with the Poor People's Campaign. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this event. It's an honor. I am part of the PPC movement because I have seen how systemic racism and poverty have affected the opportunities that were available to me in school. And I see how it affects people of color, poor people, and people with disabilities in my community. When people see me, they tend to either feel sorry for me or they do whatever they can to silence me. But I won't be silent. I think that voting is very important, and I have participated in every single election since I've been 18 years old. I am passionate about voting because my ancestors have fought from slavery all the way until the civil rights movement and up to the present day so that I could have the right to vote. We need our voices to count so that we can elect politicians who listen and will make policies that benefit women, the deaf community, people with disabilities, and people of color. As a person with a physical disability, I don't have the same employment opportunities as able-bodied people and other people that are my age. In order to afford college and other expenses, I receive Social Security income benefits. I'm not ashamed of the fact that I receive Social Security income benefits, but I would like to have additional opportunities to work and to pay for additional expenses on my own. I encourage all of you to vote. Currently, I'm working with the Poor People's Campaign for a text banking effort, specifically to target low-income voters in 10 different states around the country and let their voices be heard. So far, I've texted over 1,700 people, and I will continue to text thousands more in this week alone. Deaf and disabled students all around the country have similar struggles that I do to get a good education, a quality education, and to find employment and good paying jobs. At Gallaudet University last year, over 10% of the undergraduate students had to leave their school because they could not afford the cost of their room and board, the dorms, the food, tuition, and other necessities. This is just not okay. The fact that they had to leave their school because of financial needs, that's unacceptable. Deaf and disabled students, and all students for that matter, all across the country, should have a right to education they want at the quality and level that they want, and the ability to become full and passionate contributors to our American society. We need to build this movement so that we can have a country where everyone has a right to live, the right to learn, and the right to thrive in this nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Julia. Y'all heard it, right? Julia has been texting thousands of people, is telling us the reality of what's happening for young people, for students that are trying to get an education in this country that is the richest country in human history, and yet is saying no, no, no to students, especially poor and low-income ones. We really appreciate the work you're doing, the organizing you're doing, the power you're building, the power that's growing. And now I want to bring on, I think we've already brought on Haley Bennett. And I want to talk a little bit with you, Haley, about what does it mean? You know, the Poor People's Campaign, we launched this study this summer that says that poor and low income people hold the key to shifting the entire political calculus of this nation, right? That when we unleash the power of poor and low income voters, everything can change. But so what does that mean? What does it mean when we say poor and low income people, that young people are the key to changing the political calculus of the United States?
Yeah, thank you, Liz. Several reasons that poor and low income people do not vote are lack of accessible transportation to the polls, voter suppression laws, issues not being mentioned in the political discourse, as well as just misinformation in the campaigns overall. A movement always needs deep political analysis and data connected to the struggle to fully understand what we're fighting for. One thing we can't do is be loud and wrong. For example, in the 2016 election with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, approximately 43% of eligible voters did not exercise their right to vote. If a small percentage of the millions of eligible voters who did not vote would have participated in the 2016 election, there could have been a huge sway in the poll outcome. And also relating back to voter suppression laws, if 1 to 20% of non-eligible voters in 2016 voted around a common agenda, it could shift Senate, local, and also presidential races greatly. We must all come together on a common moral agenda to enact change. And poor and low income people and the youth are the rising generations. We are living in a moral movement, and I think that's a huge thing as of right now. And PPC is nonpartisan, but we are committed to rising against candidates who go against our morals and beliefs. And being from Louisville, Kentucky, with everything that's going on right now, I wanted to bring up Mitch McConnell and highlight the Moral Monday call on Mitch McConnell demanding him to pass another COVID relief bill. Our youth and low-income individuals can come together to bring that change. And relating back to what Reverend Barber said, Senate is an elected position, Attorney General is an elected position, the presidency is an elected position. We literally have it in our hands, the power to change all of these positions. And I think that we can. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, y'all heard Haley, and she's in Kentucky. She's in the thick of it. She's been there and has seen all that's going on. She's got a senator. She got two senators actually that are that have been practicing malfeasance in the Senate, not passing a COVID relief bill and continuing to ram judges to the federal bench and to the Supreme Court. So we thank you, Haley, for speaking to the issues, speaking to what's going on in Kentucky, and why we're voting not on a political candidate or a political party, but around a moral agenda to heal this nation. And so with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Nisha Nicole in North Carolina, and she's gonna come on and sing a song to us. And she's going to come on right now. Nisha, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Hi. We are new, a settling force, and we are powerful anew. A settling force, and we're here anew. A settling force for liberation, and we got nothing to lose but our chains. We are new, a settling force, and we are powerful anew. A settling force, and we're here anew. A settling force for liberation, and we got nothing to lose but our chains. We got nothing to lose but our chains. We got nothing to lose but our chains.
Oh my, that was powerful, beautiful. Everyone's hands in the air for Nisha. Thank you so much. That phrase that we're a new and unsettling force comes from a powerful quote that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said as he was launching the 1967-1968 Poor People's Campaign. He said, "The poor and dispossessed of this nation live in a cruelly unjust society. They must organize against that injustice." And then it continues and it says, the poor basically have the power to, when taking action together, to be a new and unsettling force in our complacent national life. And so thank you so much, Nisha, for sharing that song, sharing those words. And indeed, poor people across this country are rising up and becoming that new and unsettling force. I now want to turn it over to Vanessa Barksdale from Maryland. And I want to talk about, what does the Poor People's Campaign mean when we say moral fusion organizing? What does it mean that we're trying to do, and who we are and who we're bringing together? And thank you so much for joining us today and bringing this wisdom to everybody out there.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. And this is an absolute pleasure. For me, moral fusion organizing is most intellectually honest way of getting things done and actually achieving real substantive progress. So, and by understanding the fact that my experience is different than someone who looks absolutely completely opposite of me, and understanding that the variances and the differences in race, religion, gender, sexual identity, all those things are very unique, but all those collective identities can create the most effective collective solution. Just off the top of my mind, there was an initiative in that was implemented in part by our military in Afghanistan, called the Soybeans for Agricultural Renewal in Afghanistan Initiative. Very expensive program, $1.5 million. The idea was we're going to bring a whole lot of soybeans into Afghanistan, and we'll give the farmers there, A, lots of food, so to address malnutrition, and B, new business. And they didn't think about the fact that the soil in Afghanistan isn't conducive to soy. Also, they don't like soy. They don't like the taste. It doesn't really it doesn't match their diet, and they just collectively don't like soy. So that is an expensive solution that they really could have that could have been addressed differently. And I've discovered over my time organizing in Black counties and white counties and religiously diverse institutions, and then institutions that look with people who have the same faith as me. Not listening to other people is a waste of time and waste of money. So moral fusion organizing is the best way to be able to execute our agenda and our ideas.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to that point, Nessa, I think what's been so powerful about a moral movement like the campaign is folks organizing across geographic, racial, ethnic lines, and really kind of building a movement saying that we're tired, and that we're going to keep on fighting until we get what we want. And I think what you talked about is fighting, for the reallocation of resources, where we spend 53 cents of the discretionary dollar to militarism, to the war economy, outsourcing violence, and not only violence, but also hurting our climate, when we do that, with all the military equipment and weapons that are abroad, and not shipping those resources in-house. It's massive reallocation of resources. As Dr. Liz always tells us, lifting from the bottom up is the way, it's the solution to really change, really organize, and really bring about a new day. And so thank you, Vanessa, for hopping on and speaking to why, we're building as a moral fusion movement, and the need to reallocate our resources into the right ways. And so with that being said, I'm going to move on to a little spoken word, a little cultural arts, a little poetry, a little kind of what we call movement words, or at least I call it. I'm going to toss it to Moses, who is a leader in this movement out of Wisconsin. And they will speak to and share thoughts and present a spoken word. So Moses, are you on?
Yeah, I am. Thank you so much. I'm going to share a poem that I wrote last night, and I'm calling this for now The Mountaintop. Last year, the last thing that my professor said to a graduating class was 8 words. I'm sorry, I don't know how this happened. They were genuinely in disbelief at the pain that we were feeling as young people in this economic crisis. But the thing is, they didn't realize this is a crisis within a crisis. Like so many, we young people have been hurting for far too long, but when we speak up, when we cry out in pain, we're told far too often to get down from the ivory tower that we're standing in. But we, as young people, can no longer accept this answer because we are hurting. We have been hurting long before this crisis, and many things seem so uncertain now. And yet, in all of this pain that we are experiencing, in this current crisis that we're in, when I see my friends hurting, when I feel myself hurting, I don't lose sight. And I don't lose sight not because I'm naive, but I don't lose sight because as a member of this movement, I read. And I return to my favorite Dr. King speech, because the night before Reverend Dr. King was assassinated, he told us a prophecy that we as a people will get to the promised land. Now we must recognize and understand that those at the top do not want us to get to the promised land. So we must recognize that to get to the promised land, we are going to have to fight. So as it's already been said by so many, now is the time for moral revival. Now is the time for a revolution of values, not the time to be complicit in a society where 700 people die of poverty every day, not the time to be complicit in a society where 140 million people are poor or low income, not the time to be complicit in a society where the 5 interlocking injustices murder people every day. No, my friends, it is time to ask the question that Dr. King asked us the night before he was assassinated. Now is the time to recognize that the question for all of us is not, if I stop to help this man in need, what will happen to me? But instead, now is the time to ask the question, if I do not stop to help this man in need, what will happen to them? We in the Poor People's Campaign know that when we lift from the bottom, everyone rises. We cannot lose sight. We must keep organizing. We as young people have power, strength, and commitment, and we can win, but it will take more, and it will take all of us, and it will be the long haul. And so the questions are you ready to do more? Are you ready to get to the mountaintop? And are you ready to get to the promised land? Thank you.
Ooh, amen, amen, amen. That was really powerful, really strong, and as you said, now is the time. Now is the time, and we must keep organizing. We must keep fighting, and that we are here and we are now. And I want to ask you, Moses, cultural arts and theomusicology is so important, I believe, in doing movement work, in the struggle when we continue to fight against oppression. And I just wanted you to kind of just speak to that. Why do you think movement music, cultural arts is important to you? And why do you think it's important for the larger movement building process?
I mean, I think cultural arts is so important because it's been so ingrained in so many movements. And I think a big reason of that is because cultural arts brings us together in a really beautiful way that sometimes is honestly indescribable. The power of singing together, the power of chanting together. And I think the reason that it brings us together is because sometimes there's not another way to express what we're feeling, whether that's happiness, sadness, or like desperation. And the only way we can do that is by singing, is by writing, is by chanting. And so that's really why I think cultural arts is so critical to our work.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Moses. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everybody that has joined us today. Indeed, we must raise our voices in all of the ways that folks are talking about. I want to remind people, this is Moral Monday, and we are marching online against Mitch McConnell and the misery and the madness and the mayhem that he's causing, especially by not passing a just stimulus bill. We know that when the banks need to get bailed out, it happens within seconds. And it has now been months. It's been months of pain, months of death, months of suffering. And this Senate has been holding on and not passing a stimulus bill. So please follow that bit.ly link. Follow that bit.ly link and make calls. Flood those phone lines, right? Make your voice heard. Say that we will not stand for this. If you're from Kentucky, say you're from Kentucky. If you're from Wisconsin, say, you know, what Mitch McConnell is doing is not just impacting Kentucky, it's impacting Wisconsin. So please make sure that you're raising your voice and waging your concern right there. And again, we do these because we know that we have the power to change to change the way that the society is organized right now. And that starts with folks, you know, coming together and mobilizing and organizing and making sure that we rise up and we vote, either if it's in early voting, if it's an absentee ballot, if it's in-person voting on November 3rd, please make sure that you register your vote. You register your vote and make sure that your voice is heard. And then make sure you're involved in a movement that is building power. We're talking about shifting the narrative, getting this nation to talk about these issues. The fact that 140 million people were poor or low income, one storm, one fire emergency away from poverty before this crisis hit, before COVID hit, before this economic downturn, you know, really got going. And so it doesn't have to be this way. So we are so appreciative of folks getting on with us. We're so excited about Gen Now and all the opportunities that young people have to join a powerful movement of people from all geographies, all races, all ages, all gender expressions, all sexualities, who are building up a new and unsettling force that can turn this nation upside down and right side up. And so we're going to close out with a couple of little videos, both from some young people that have been singing a song from the Poor People's Campaign, Everybody's Got a Right to Live. And then we're going to also have a video that's you know, about other people, you know, rising up and voting and making sure that we register our concern and register our voice. Now, one last thing, if you are not already involved in the Poor People's Campaign, if you have not already signed up to do more in this election, please go to vote.poorpeoplescampaign.org. Vote.poorpeoplescampaign.org. You can sign up to volunteer even this next week. We're phone banking, we're text banking. You can also just get connected to other people with Gen Now, other people from all across the country that are organizing. But please.
So I work with Maryland, with Maryland's Democratic Party. I just wanted to make sure that she has everything that she needs to be able to cast her.
Oh, that was someone right now. There's folks registering people, making sure our voices are heard. We're going to turn it over to this video. We thank you all for joining us. You know, we're nonpartisan in this movement, but we're making sure that folks get out there and make our voices heard. We vote around an agenda that says healthcare, that says living wages, that says education, an agenda that says power to poor people, so that we can make the power structures of this nation say yes when they are at this point saying no to us. But so thank you for joining us. Please tune into this video and rise up and vote on November 3rd and keep on organizing.
Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this campaign fails, we'll all go down to jail. Before this campaign fails, we'll all go down to jail. I said before this campaign fails, we'll all go down to jail. Said before this campaign fails, we'll all go down to jail. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Me and you. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Hey,
Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Yes, I want to vote. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Yes, I want to vote. Stop complaining, come on. Don't you want to vote? You just stop complaining, come on. Don't you want to vote? Stop complaining, come on. Don't you want to vote? Yes, I want to vote. Hey, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Oh, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Oh, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Yes, I want to vote. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Oh, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, stay with me. And don't you want to vote? Oh, yes, I want to vote. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Yeah.